There are few places on Earth like Alaska, where towering glaciers, deep fjords, and untouched wilderness constantly remind you just how great our God is. Shalom everyone, I'm Amir Tsarfati, and I want to personally invite you to join me July 3rd through July 10th, 2026 for a very special Alaska Cruise Prophecy Conference. We'll be sailing together aboard the Celebrity Edge, traveling through breathtaking destinations like Juneau, Ketchikan, Skagway, Victoria, and more. It's a kind of scenery that naturally slows you down, lifts your eyes, and creates space to reflect on the Lord and His Word. Throughout the week, I'll be teaching alongside my friends Barry Stagner, Bob Pearl, and Bob Copeney. Together, we'll spend focused time in Scripture, looking at biblical prophecy, the days we're living in, and how we're called to live with clarity, hope, and faith. In addition, Pastor Barry Stagner and I will be facilitating a live Mideast and Beyond update on board the ship, sharing timely insight into current events through the lens of Bible prophecy. We'll also have a dedicated questions and answers session that includes all of the speakers, giving you the opportunity to engage, ask questions, and hear thoughtful biblical responses in a meaningful and personal setting with all of our guests together. There will also be worship, meaningful fellowship, time to connect, simple, unhurried, and genuine. We're teaming up with our trusted friends at Inspiration Travel to make this trip of a lifetime a reality for you. If you've been looking for a week that brings together solid Bible teaching, timely prophecy updates, encouraging fellowship, and some of the most remarkable scenery in the world, I'd love for you to join us. And I hope to see you with us in Alaska. Yes, shalom and good evening from Galilee, Israel, and also shalom to you, Pastor Barry in California and Pastor Mike in Minnesota. How are you, my friends?
Very
Doing
well. Good to see you, Amir.
Good to see you. In between launches of missiles from Iran, just so you know, this is normally the time they feel like doing so. Just in case you hear a very funny and noise from my cell phone that tells me to go and position myself in a secure place. Just so you know, that means a launch from Yemen was detected. And normally, if it's towards my area, my phone will ring. If it's not, then I will not have to be warned in advance. We just completed the 13th day today was the 14th day. Today was exactly 2 weeks since the war began. We officially passed the 12-day war period, and we're entering into tomorrow, into the third week of the most intense war that Israel and the United States waged on Iran minutes before they actually opened fire at American troops and Israel with thousands of ballistic missiles aimed at American targets and Israeli cities ready to be launched. We basically thwarted their preemptive strike, knowing that there is no way they can reach any agreement with the U.S. Simply because they said no to every offer. This Q&A is going to be about the Iran war. It's not going to be about general Bible prophecy or Bible questions. We're going to talk about events, and we're going to talk about Bible as it relates to these events. So, Pastor Mike, before we get to move forward with the questions, why don't I ask Pastor Barry to start with a prayer, and then we'll move straight into our Q&A.
Father, we are so grateful to know the whole of the story. And even as we watch events unfold as they relate to that which you've revealed to us, God, through your word, we ask for clarity today. We ask that you would give ears to those who will hear. And God, we ask that most of all, we would come away with greater confidence in your word because of what we talk about today. So we ask these things, God, with grateful hearts and expectant of that glorious appearing of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. And it's through him we pray.
Amen.
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 Yeah. Before Mike, before you start, allow me just to say this, and I'll try to be as nice as I can. Although nowadays I'm not a nice person. Most of the news you hear are garbage. I'll say it again. Most of the news, even from so-called Christians, garbage, because they are quoting sources that are non-reliable sources. And so even if you're a Christian and you quote things that are fake news, it doesn't make it real because you're a Christian. So I want you to understand that you are obliterated, you are bombarded, you are flooded with fake news coming from non-Christian and Christian news sites alike. And I need you to understand that right now, most of the things that comes out are things that are clickbaits, and they're trying to get your attention for clicks in order to get money from you, because YouTube pays them for that, because Facebook pays them for that. You have to be very careful nowadays with who you consume your news from and how you do so. And I'll tell you, I was inundated in the last 48 hours with questions. Is Netanyahu dead? We just heard Netanyahu was killed. We just heard, and listen, this is just one. We heard Tel Aviv is no longer, does not exist anymore. We heard this. Listen to me. The internet is flooded with AI generated photos and videos that the Islamic Republic is generating and disseminating. And it's sad that people don't use their brains. God gifted you with brains and common sense before YouTube was invented. Use your brains, use your common sense, because we are so tired of telling people that it's not true. And we're also so tired of telling people if it was true, we would have told you that. But it seems like when you don't tell them that it's true, you disappoint them. People want to believe it's true because it makes it's more exciting, or it's more, I don't know. Listen to me, you have to be super careful. We've already crossed the line in our life, in our generation. We've crossed the line where no longer you can trust what you see, even because now fake news are being manufactured even on video. It's no longer just text or some stuff that you can see on in newspapers. Okay, now it's fake videos, it's fake photographs. So you have to be very careful how you consume your news, where you get it from, and do not let trust me, if it doesn't sound right to you, it's not right. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't add up, it probably not, because it's fake news. They are trying to attack you because they understand they're losing the war. Now, I'm not saying that tomorrow the Ayatollahs will fall. I'm not saying that the regime will fall the day after tomorrow. I'm not saying that. But they're in such a desperate situation right now that they have to somehow portray a victorious image because they're being obliterated right now. And so you have to be very careful and how you consume things. And this is, why, on Telegram, when I feel so, I hate it, by the way. I hate to be in the news 24/7. But the reason why I feel so obligated to do so, it's because I know what's the alternative is. And I know that the powers around to confuse you and deceive you are so strong in many that my job is at least to give you the truth of what's going on. That's it. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to subscribe to my free Telegram channel. You don't have to if you don't want to. But if you want to understand if something really happened, go there and see. Instead of watching all of those fake YouTube videos, and because they're just terrible. All right, I needed to say that because it has crossed the line already. People are no longer using their common sense, and you have to, God gifted us with brains and common sense, and if you have the Holy Spirit, He also gives you peace and sound mind and power. And sound mind is sound mind. Okay, so let's use it. All right, Pastor Mike, take the reins.
That's right. So a little bit different this time. I'm actually going to be taking the questions from the feed. So you don't have to put your name because I can see your call numbers or your call names there. That's number one. Number two, you'll see my eyes looking down a lot because of that. And so it's not like I'm disengaged. I'm scrubbing the chat for good questions, which leads me to point number three in our guidelines. And that is that post questions and just feel free just to hold off on comments. We love it when we hear where you're from and all of that stuff. But what it does is it makes it much more confusing for me to get those questions. So if we can do that, we'll have a much better experience for everybody. And I'm going to jump straight into Bonnie's question right here. Amir, I think you should take this one. Hamas. We're hearing a lot about Iran, Hezbollah. What is the situation with Hamas? Are they involved still? What's their status? She's saying it's been pretty quiet throughout the war. Are they up to nefarious things while no one is watching? What is your thoughts on that?
Almost. Listen, we're controlling over 50% of the Gaza Strip. Hamas is controlling 40-something percent. The population is in his territory. They try to show that they're the bosses, but a big thing happened to Hamas. Their biggest sponsor is now crumbling down, and Hamas is. I believe that after Iran is gone, they're going to have to surrender immediately because they are left with nothing. Now, Hamas is trying almost every other day to infiltrate into the territory that is controlled by Israel, and we're shooting back and eliminating them. It happened this morning. It happened yesterday. It happened the day before yesterday. You don't see or hear about it because it's nothing compares to what's going on in Iran, in the Gulf, and of course in Lebanon. But diabolic, satanic ideology is still their portion, and they're still trying to eliminate Israel as much as they can. And they're pretty much powerless at this point. But unfortunately, under the agreement that allowed the release of the hostages and the whole Gaza Peace Council, we are obligated to give them 650 truckloads of food and supplies. And by the way, they don't need more than 100. I mean, to survive, they don't need more than 100. So in a way, we are sustaining Hamas by giving them so much so they can sell and keep for themselves to sustain themselves for longer. Now, look, you have to choose your battles sometimes. One of the best thing that Netanyahu did in this war is he didn't fight every word all time. He finished with Gaza, moved to Lebanon, finished there, moved to Iran, and now got back to Gaza, strike the deal, get the hostages out, and then came this Iran thing again now, and now Lebanon, Hezbollah joined, and now we're striking in Lebanon as well. So it's best, if you can wait, it's best to finish with the much, much bigger issues that we have right now to deal with Iran and Lebanon, with Hezbollah and the Ayatollah regime. And once we're done with that, I believe it's going to be the end of Hamas. Look, none of us in Israel have any patience with these Nazis. We're done. We know this is a different Israel. It's an Israel that is willing to control 20% of Lebanon, 5% of Syria, 50% of Gaza, maybe 100% of Gaza. We don't care anymore if the world says yes or no. We are going to take any piece of land from where they're shooting at us. That's it. And we're going to keep it, we're going to clean it, and we're going to create the buffers so nobody will shoot at Israel anymore. That's basically what we're going to do. So for now, Hamas is enjoying a time of less attention from us simply because we're busier elsewhere. The minute we're done, I'll give it 4-5 more weeks. We'll get back there. We'll take care of business.
Mm-hmm. Next question's for you, Pastor Barry. M.A. Bunny on YouTube. Many prestigious rabbis believe that Israel has already been experiencing peace, and we are now in the Ezekiel 38 war. Nova is what triggered the war itself. What are your thoughts? Again, this is one of those questions where there's a lot of disinformation, so I selected it just so we could set the record straight. Pastor Barry?
Yeah, Mike, I think we can, look at this and questions like it and say that it's quite possible that this is leading up to the full-scale Ezekiel war. But the participants are clearly indicated, and most of them are absent from this scenario. Now, it is interesting that we're seeing things develop on both sides of the issue, where you've got the Arab Gulf states that are leaning towards joining this, and because of the actions of the Iranian regime. But also you've got the non-participant militarily of Russia. Of course, we do know behind the scenes they're working against Israel and the U.S. But also you've got the non-participant, the major player of Turkey. Libya is uninvolved, as is Sudan, in the sense of participation militarily. And this is what this whole invasion is about that Ezekiel talks about. It is drawing down from the north by God himself with a hook in their jaw and with the economic motivation as the goal or the cause behind it. We're not seeing any of those things. Right now, the basic idea behind what Iran is doing is the destruction of the Jews. And like I said, I think all of these things are very possibly pushing toward that motivation that God uses to draw them down out of the far north. But I don't think that we're seeing the Ezekiel war in and of itself right now. But very, very possible we are super close.
Yeah. Let me move to you, Amir. Let me say this, because you've been reporting on the Strait of Hormuz for the last few days, and SecWar Hegseth has commented on this multiple times. Edward is saying, our country is affected with oil price. Until when will we suffer from high price? But can you also include what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz and all of the disinformation from fake media saying that the Iranians have control of it and that this is a disaster that the Trump administration couldn't see coming, and all of this disinformation that you referred to earlier? This is a specific example.
It's exactly the topic that the garbage CNN has been reporting fake news. It's exactly that piece. First of all, what high prices are you suffering from? You guys are paying $3. You want to know what high prices of gasoline is? Come over. to our country or go to Europe or go to Asia, and you'll see that's high prices. What you're paying right now is low. But you have to understand something. America is right now fighting for Americans, not for Israel. This war has nothing to do with Israel. Let me explain, okay? You're now fighting in order to create a trade route in an oil reservoir that will not get to China and will weaken China. You're now creating, just like what you did with Venezuela, you're taking over the main supplier of oil for China, and you are disrupting the trade route of China in order to dominate world oil prices and then regulate them to make sure that nobody is playing games with you. One of the think about it, a country acquiring nuclear weapon will always play that game of closing and opening the Straits of Hormuz. And right now what they do is they allow only ships of countries they like. Think about that. And that's international waters. They're not allowed to do that. So what America is doing right now is actually taking care of energy for you understand, if President Trump was only caring about America and America's money, make no mistake, higher prices of oil are making more money for America. America is the #1 oil exporter in the world right now.
That's right.
So it's not like you guys need to suffer from this. If he wants, he won't. But what he's doing right now, it's on a global scale, and it's a strategic move to weaken China and Russia. And sometimes, when you undergo an operation, there is the point where it hurts, and then comes the healing. And you cannot expect a war that is right over the passage of 30% of world's energy without having any effect on it. And so I believe that this is the #1 concern. And if you think he didn't think about that before, you can kiss that thought goodbye. Most, if not all, the deliberation was not about military move. President Trump let Israel deal with most of the military moves, such as the opening strike, the disabling of the anti-aircraft systems, and the dominance that we all have in the skies of Iran and Tehran specifically. President Trump is more into the global strategic picture of how to ensure that this regime is not going to manipulate prices. It is not going to obviously prefer China, and is not going to disrupt energy flow in that area. And so I believe with all of my heart that this move had to be done. I believe it's being done correctly. In fact, I just reported a few minutes ago on my Telegram channel, a U.S. Marine unit consisting of 2,200 Marines on board 3 amphibious ships, a warship capable of delivering Marines to shore in enemy territory, is being sent to the Middle East. I believe that the island of Karj, the Kharj, basically, it's the island where most of 90% of the oil of Iran goes through. It's a small island. I believe it's very easy for America to take over that one. And I believe that once America takes it, it renders Iran powerless without Iran's own oil. And we're going to see a lot of action in the next. We move now to the real deal. If up until now all we did is removing immediate military threats of missiles and drones, nuclear, and all the commanders, and now we're moving to the point where this is what the war is all about. And that's the phase that this coming week is all about. And I believe the president is very, very much into it. Now, Caroline Leavitt, the spokesperson of the White House, she just said that the story that CNN was running is fake news. CNN decided to run this garbage based on 3 anonymous sources familiar with discussions. This is despite the fact that myself, the Secretary of War, Secretary of State, and multiple lawmakers who were actually present for the recent classified briefing have directly disputed this false reporting. The truth, the Pentagon has been planning for Iran's just a second. We have a launch. Just a second. A launch from Iran right now. No, it's to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, so I'm spared. So she said, the truth is that the Pentagon has been planning for Iran's desperate and reckless closure of the Strait of Hormuz for decades. And it has been part of the Trump administration's planning well before Operation Epic Fury was ever launched. The idea that Chairman Kaine and Secretary Hexet weren't prepared for this possibility is preposterous. The president was fully briefed on it, and a goal of the operation itself to annihilate the terrorist Iranian regime's navy, missiles, drone production infrastructure, and other threats capabilities is quite literally intended to deprive them of their ability to close the strait. President Trump will not allow rogue Iranian terrorists to stop the freedom of navigation and free flow of energy. Wiping out these terrorists who indiscriminately target civilians and attempt to hold the global economy hostage is part of the ongoing noble U.S. mission. The fake news is working overtime to discredit President Trump, his administration, and our U.S. military, all of whom are working 24/7 to eliminate the threat of the Iranian regime. It's a complete disgrace to witness this from the media, and we will keep fighting back against it. That's what you guys are facing. The Medianites, fake news, garbage, pile of garbage. And they are bombarding you with all of that. So questions like that will always be in your mind because you think, oh, the president in between a party here and a party there just said, oh, let's have a war. For decades, America was planning for this operation because for decades, for nearly 5 decades, the Iranian regime was playing games with the Strait of Hormuz. So if anything, you are bringing an end to this war, not beginning one. And if anything, it's going to help the American people and the oil prices and the flow of energy over there. And again, I feel for her. I feel for her because this is how I started today's program, by telling you, don't believe this garbage. This garbage is to sow doubts and weaken you. And that's what progressive liberal stupidity is all about. It's to take from you the hope and the strength and the pride of your military, your government, and your nationality and your symbols, and to just sow fear and discouragement and embarrassment. That's what we have the same, by the way. We have the same Medianites. That's why we only watch one channel on TV, and we only watch news there, and that's it. Because you can't trust them anymore. They have an agenda.
Yeah. Okay. This one is for you, Pastor Barry, from Cheetos and Wheels. Nice name. Question: for Israel to feel peace and security, will Iran have to be in peace with Israel or some sort? And if I may, just add to this, if you read the Ezekiel 38 and 39, it's talking about the walls and that they don't really need them. There's a situation where Israel becomes so secure and peaceful that even walls aren't even necessary, at least in a metaphoric sense, if not a literal sense. Pastor Barry, if you look at the situation that this war is, doing to Israel, how do you anticipate that'll lead to the fulfillment of a peace right before the Gog and Magog invasion with all of that?
Yeah, it's interesting, Mike, because I think one thing that often gets overlooked about the phrase that you're talking about is that it is a peaceful people. That doesn't mean it's a people at peace. It means the people are peaceful by nature. And
Hmm.
also, to the word security means boldly or in confidence. So I would say right now, there are a peaceful people who live in Israel, the Jews, who are bold and confident right now. And so I don't think that there necessarily has to be this season where all is good and there's no war, any of those things. That's I think looking at the language there gives us that indication. But also I think we have to remember about coming up against the city of unwalled villages. In antiquity, it was common to build a wall around your city. And these people who dwell confidently and boldly with a desire for peace in their native homeland aren't all walled in and have all these fortresses built around them, like former cities, would be protected by. But again, that's how I see it. I know other people see it otherwise. That there has to be a time of peace, and that's when the Ezekiel invasion takes place. But I think looking at it, grammatically, the Jews are a peaceful people. They want peace. They've tried to have peace and been constantly under attack. But at the same time, my wife and I have talked about this, Mike, and I know you know the same is true. We have been to Israel multiple times, obviously, not quite as many as you since you lived there. But one thing that we notice is there is a sense of confidence and boldness, and there's a happiness in the people that just kind of gives you a comfort that hey, this is the land where all things in the world are going to draw down to, and God has brought His people back to bring glory to His name, and they will never be uprooted again. So again, that's kind of how I see it, Mike. And again, like I said, I think there's others who see it a little bit differently, but I see the Jews are a peaceful people already. I believe that they are confident and bold already. So this whole thing could go down at any time. I don't particularly believe we're waiting for a season where no one is attacking Israel.
Hmm. I understand. Amir, there's been a lot of assassinations and assassination attempts. This question is a springboard for what I want to add to it as well. Tara Fisher, do you think the chosen leader of Iran is alive right now? You had reported that there was, the new supreme leader, the son of the late Khamenei, was possibly wounded.
Oh, not possibly. He's not just wounded, he's critically wounded. I'm not even sure he knows he's the heir. Uh, uh,
Sorry.
and I will tell you that in places like this, especially in a day like this, today was the Al-Quds Day. The last Friday of Ramadan is always, it's dedicated by the Iranians to Jerusalem. They want to show that they are, they're the patrons and the guardians of Al-Quds, Jerusalem, although the city is not even in the Quran even once. But the thing is, it's the first time there is not a single word or photo of the supreme leader of Iran on the Al-Quds Day since the revolution in 1979. And even yesterday, when they released a message from the supreme leader, the TV announcer read it in her own voice. So we haven't seen him nor heard from him. And I think that the only reason why they announced him, it's because they needed to project stability, and they needed to project that there is a leader, and he actually is someone he's the son of God's messenger that was just taken from you. And Ayatollah, it's the messenger of God. And so that's it, basically. Some suggest in Israel that he may have been dead already, but they cannot say anything because at this time they need him to be alive. They need to project to everyone that he's alive. They're afraid that a real living person might actually make some major changes in the IRGC. The IRGC, it's a cartel of high-ranking officers that are controlling most of the economy in Iran. They're billionaires. All of these generals are billionaires. They will not give up. Under the guise of religious mission, they are running the biggest cartel of money laundering, of drug lords, of smuggling drugs, growing cocaine. I mean, we're talking about cartel in every essence of that word, and they will not give up that status. The last thing they care about is their own country and their own people. They don't care about that. And so my point is, they don't want to bring anyone from outside that might do radical changes and steal from them the billions and the control. Iran is a country of 92 million people. It's 100 times bigger than Israel. It's huge. It's vast. It's the size of Western Europe. It's huge. And it has so much natural resources. And I mean, it could have been the best place on earth. If you, I mean, we talked about it today at home. Iran is one of the most beautiful countries. I don't know if you know that. There's so many amazing places in Iran. They could have been the most touristic country in the whole Middle East if they really wanted. They had amazing beaches. They could have been Dubai, 50 times Dubai. But they are hijacked by cartel that is projecting itself to be religious. By the way, I hear a lot of booms, just so you know, but you can't hear it. But so if you're asking me right now, he's critically wounded or bad, seriously wounded, maybe even defaced. That's why he cannot even show his face. I think your Secretary of War said that this morning, and you haven't even heard his voice. It's one thing if you don't want to show your face because something happened to you. What about recording your voice? Tell the people. Even that has not been done. So I have serious doubts if this man can function at all, if he's still alive. I don't know. But,
so do you think the strategy is raise up a leader, the leader dies, raise up another leader? Is this just an unending chain of appointing supreme leaders?
I think that President Trump at this point made it very clear that he's willing to work with whatever leader they have that is willing to work with him. In other words, if they abandon their ideology to destroy Israel, destroy America, and to disrupt the whole Middle East with their proxies, if they abandon all of that and they just move to be normal country that takes care of its own people, he doesn't mind if it's an Ayatollah. Because this is not a fight of America against Shia Islam. It's a fight against America, against a country that wants to destroy America and destroy Israel and disrupt all that is going on in the Middle East. That's what it's all about.
It's a cult.
It's a cult. It's a cartel, and President Trump doesn't like cartels. And that's what we have right now. And I think that just like Venezuela, in Venezuela, they didn't change the government. It's the same government. The only one that was removed was Maduro himself. Well, Khamenei was moved also. And if the president will be able to work with this leader, now listen to me. I don't wish the Iranians to have this government stay in power. I don't. But I think that the president is very careful not to say that we will only win if we topple the regime. He's not saying that. In fact, he's saying the opposite. He's saying we will create, even Netanyahu last night said, we are creating conditions for the people to change the regime. But if you can bring the horse to the trough, but you cannot force it to drink.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what he said. Netanyahu just said that. Look, we are not going to say we are here to topple the regime, but we are here to create the conditions for the people to do that. But quite frankly, right now, If I was an Iranian, I wouldn't go out because they're still outside with heavy machine guns, and they vow to slaughter anyone that will come against the regime.
Hmm.
After
Wow.
40,000 people slaughtered and the world did nothing, do you think any Iranian family is going to send their children out to the street anymore?
No.
Not until all the Basij, all the IRGC, they're all gone, not until they are armed and not until they get help from outside, and then they will go out.
Hmm.
Will that happen? I don't know. I hope it will. But
Yeah.
I mean, I said that from day one. Both America and Israel did not specify the toppling of the regime as one of the objectives of the war, because they knew that eventually it's up to the Iranian people, not to America or Israel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that. Let's go to the next question. David Lane. Now, folks, I want you to listen carefully to Pastor Barry's answer on this, because a lot of you are going back to the Bible and you're reading about Gog and Magog, and it appears twice in Ezekiel, but also in Revelation, and people confuse the two events. Pastor Barry, dispensational teaching has suggested that there are two Gog and Magog wars. It's not only just dispensational thinking, folks. It's a common view. And Pastor Barry, can you explain the difference between these two, and why do people get this confused, and why shouldn't we confuse the two?
Well, I think generally people see the Gog and Magog mentioned in both places and assume it's the same war. If we just examine the text in both situations, they are clearly distinct. In Ezekiel, you've got 5 named nations that are participants in the invasion from the north. You've got Russia, Turkey, Iran, Libya, and Sudan. We also know the battle theater is Israel specifically. And we also know the outcome involves burying the dead for 7 months and burning the weapons for 7 years. We're given very specific details as to what's going to happen after the Ezekiel war. You jump forward to Revelation chapter 20, and you've got the mention of Gog and Magog, but that's where the commonality ends. Because one, we have no aftermath that's recorded there. It is not 5 nations, it is people from all over the world that come to fight against the Lamb. They are instantly destroyed, and the aftermath is not burying the dead, it's not burning the weapons. The next thing that happens after the Revelation 20 war is the Great White Throne Judgment. There is nothing that should or would indicate to us that you've got a repeated text that's indicating this is the same war in 2 different places, Old and New Testament, that is. So you've got a different battle theater, you've got different combatants, and you've got a different outcome in Ezekiel 38 and 39 than you do in Revelation chapter 20. I think that's kind of the condensed version, Mike, and I think answers it pretty decisively. But I would also say, I don't know the intention of throwing out dispensationalism there, but I get that every single week. Somebody calling me dispensational. I think a lot of times that gets thrown out there without the real understanding of what that term means. I think some, view the dispensationalism as believing that God saves people through different means throughout the course of history, which I don't believe. I don't know anybody that does believe that. I believe that all people have to have a relationship with Christ. I believe that those who went to Abraham's bosom had the gospel preached to them. And after Jesus resurrected from the dead, they did too. And it wasn't until then that it was possible for Paul to write 2 Corinthians 5:8, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So Gog and Magog, 2 different battles. Who Gog is, I think, is a mystery. Magog seems to be an indication of the same type of thing, an enemy of Israel, but they are clearly different battles, and the text mandates that that's so.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, Amir, Russia. Okay, so this is one of those questions that may be coming from conspiracy theories, or maybe not. Is it possible that Iran has nuclear bombs hidden in Russia? But I want to add to this: what role is Russia playing in this? What is going through Putin's mind right now? in terms of this war? I mean, you've reported on certain aspects of that. Can you expand on Russia's role?
Yes. First of all, Russia enjoys this whole event and literally diplomatically threw Iran under the bus when it actually did not abstain in the Security Council resolution against Iran. Russia and China could have actually voted against it, and they did not veto it. They abstained, so it wasn't vetoed. In other words, it was accepted. So uh, that's one thing. Second, Dmitry Peskov, the spokesman of the Kremlin, said a couple of days ago, "This is not our war." But Trump is not stupid. Trump knows exactly that Russia helps with intelligence, and also Russia is willing to help Trump supplying oil where there is shortage of oil. I mean, and that's why Trump allowed the lift of the sanctions over countries that are taking Russian oil in the next 30 days, just to alleviate the shortage that we have right now. So Russia is making money. Russia can continue fighting without the attention on it. Russia can um, uh, help Iran with its intelligence, but not really with any other thing. Russia is selling Iran now weapon rather than buying from Iran. So Russia is basically double dipping here. Remember, and people have to remember that Russia will not be defeated until after the Ezekiel war.
Hmm.
Won't be defeated. If you think that Russia will be defeated in the Ukraine theater, kiss that thought goodbye. That's not going to happen. And if you think Russia will crumble because of Iran's defeat right now, it's not going to happen. Russia has prepared itself long before the war with Ukraine. It prepared its economy for that. And so right now, what we're watching is an active war that is not with Russia. And Russia is watching America running out of munition, watching America's political turmoil, and waiting for the moment that America will either implode or change in 2-3 years regime and step down from the status of world superpower. That's exactly what Iran is banking on. That's exactly what Turkey is banking on as well. Remember, America is not mentioned in Ezekiel as a country that is coming to help Israel. Israel won't have any. And right now, America is big time helping Israel. In fact, if you ever come to the Ben Gurion International Airport near Tel Aviv, it looks like a military airbase of the U.S. Air Force. I mean, we have about 40 mid-air refueling tankers parked on the tarmac of the Ben Gurion Airport, not to mention other aircrafts that I don't need to tell you the type of. So my point is, at the moment, America and Israel are big time together, fighting a war that should have been fought long ago, but because of stupid progressive mindset of leaders, it didn't. But Russia is waiting around the corner for this war to end and for the thing that will happen that will bring America down from its world superpower status. And then they'll make the move. And that's when Iran will join the coalition. Because Iran understand, look, once this war is over, whether Ayatollahs are still controlling it or not, Iran is defeated, Iran is weak, Iran is bankrupt. It'll take Iran long before it. But the minute, remember, what is more dangerous than an angry animal? A wounded angry animal.
Hmm.
Iran is going to wait for the moment to avenge this whole thing, and it'll hop on the first wagon it can find. It knows it cannot do it alone, and it will join a coalition. This is why I'm a bit struggling with the concept of peace with Iran right now, because all I read about in the Bible is not peace with Iran, it's war with Iran. That's what the Bible talks about. So if anything, the next war is all about that. And speaking of the next war, for the last 5 years, I've been writing novels, fictions, but it's basically biblical because I want to prepare the people to understand the players of the different of the war, of Ezekiel war. And I wanted to get them to understand what the Arabian Peninsula is all about, and through the lens of a Mossad agent, but through real events and real Mossad operations. Take a look at this right now and see for yourself. So May 5th, we're going to launch the next war, and it's all about Ezekiel. And everything, and by the way, we analyzed every single verse in those two chapters. But my point is, all the other books in the former series were preparing you to understand what's going to happen before the war, and then comes the war, which is before the tribulation, and then comes the tribulation. And I didn't leave the rapture out. The rapture is somewhere between those two series, and you'll find it. But it's very interesting, very biblical, very uplifting. I want you to pray that this book will draw people to the Lord and save them. And if you can pre-order it, I would love for you to do that.
Mhm.
All right. I think
Yeah.
we have one more.
One more question, Pastor Barry. You know a lot of Iranians. That's why I'm throwing this at you. There's a lot of Iranians in SoCal. What percent of Iran's population are from the religion of peace? I mean, Amir mentioned that it's Shiite, but that doesn't necessarily mean everybody is a cult-like thinker like these gangsters or these mafia guys that he referred to. Bringing them into the 21st century is going to be problematic, to say the least. How to achieve this? Can they achieve it? Is it even possible? How do you read the Iranian people? Because a lot of what is being reported is that the whole thing's evil. The whole country's evil. Carte blanche. Talk to us about the Iranian people. What kind of people are these? And what are some scenarios that you see happening right after this war?
Yeah, Mike, the regime and the population are two separate entities. You've got these extremists that are in control. And, if you just look at that, like Amir mentioned earlier, 40,000 people were out on the streets and were executed by the regime. Now, the numbers that we've seen out in the streets of Iran have been absolutely incredible. Of course, percentage wise of the overall population is nowhere near everyone being out on the street, but it is very, very clear that there is a huge divide between the general populace as well as and the regime that's in control. They are the extremist Muslims, Shia, as far as personal association, or Shiite regarding Islam. And there are Sunnis, but the majority of the population that does follow after Islam is Shiite. As far as the Iranian people, we've got our next door neighbor is an Iranian family, a mom with 4 kids. 2 doors down, we've got another Iranian mom who's got a son. We have many, many Iranian people in our lives. As a matter of fact, we've got an Iranian ministry at the church that teaches in Farsi. And, one of the things that I will say, Mike, just to kind of answer the question generally, is that all of the Iranians that I know are not Muslims. I don't know any Iranian Muslims. Every Iranian that I know from around our area and Orange County, California, has a lot of Iranians. I should say we've got our fair share of Muslims too, but all the ones that I know basically left in 1979 or thereabouts because of what was happening with the regime change. But yeah, I think that's one of the things that we need to keep in mind. We've got a huge difference between the Iranian people and the Iranian regime that is unlike what's going on in the Gaza Strip, where basically the populace and Hamas are like minded. They want to see the destruction of Israel. The Iranian people want to see peace with the Jews, and they're not for this at all. I think,
Mhm.
as we talked about earlier, Mike, it's a bit unfortunate that when Netanyahu is calling for the people to seize the day, so to speak, um, you're asking people who are accountants and restaurant workers and all that to take up arms against a vicious regime, and without any type of help or support. It just, like Amir said, I don't see that happening. It's a very frightening thing that they've already experienced with so many of them being executed by this just monstrous group of people who are in control. So got
Mhm.
two different things. And somebody, there's a little clip floating around on I think it was Instagram, where there was a woman debating someone who came up to their public speaking people, and she said, the definition of Islam is peace. And the guy obviously was wise enough. He said, "No, it isn't. The definition of Islam, the word means
Submission.
submit or submission. No, it does not." So again, there's a misinformation on their side too. But the Iranian people are wonderful people. They're kind, hardworking people, and they don't want this. They don't want this animosity towards Israel, the better portion of them. They want to live at peace, raise their families, have a good job, and a secure future. But
Yeah.
they've got the people in control who are against all of that.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I can add that a lot of Iranians are writing me directly from Iran,
Yeah.
sending me direct messages with information, and the information goes to the right places, and the right things take place following that information. This is the only country in the world that is being attacked, and the people are cheering in the streets for this attack. And it says a lot about where their heart is,
Mm.
certainly not with this evil regime. So,
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we ran out of time, but
That's the
listen,
top of the hour. Yeah.
yeah, but this coming Monday, we will have another one. I know there's a lot of people, a lot of questions. We will have another Q&A this coming Monday about the war, Bible, and the war, current events, but we will concentrate on what's going on in the world. And this coming Monday, God willing, I'll do it from Connect if it's possible. If not, right here in
This
the big.
works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I look like Vanilla Face with with this, uh, with this, the lightings that I have and all of that. But hey, it's better than nothing. So I want to thank you guys. Thank you, Pastor Barry. Thank you, Pastor Mike. I want to remind everybody to subscribe to our Telegram channel, and you see the QR code on the side of Barry's screen. I also want to encourage you to go to our YouTube channels of Barry and myself, Behold Israel of ours, and Barry. It's Barry Stagner, but it's also, what's the name of your YouTube channel?
The truth about God.
Truth About God. So if you
Sign
can,
up for proximity.
there you go. There's a proximity. Proximity moved to April. No, excuse me,
No,
May
May 2nd.
2nd. May 2nd. Well, let's have a full house.
Yes.
There's so much that we're gonna talk about, and there's so many things I'm gonna show you. We're gonna do the Israel Decree, the first ever Israel Decree conference in the United States this time. So join us there. And also, if you want to join us in Alaska, please do so by signing up via our website, www.beholdisrael.org. And May 5th is the next war. So please get this book pre-ordered. Let's get the attention of all the big vendors and booksellers by seeing that a lot of people are ordering it. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. God bless you. And shalom. Bye-bye.
Shalom.